Thank you, Judy Moen. I hope everybody has their happy face on now. Welcome to Unity South, Twin Cities, for this service of May 3rd. Yes, we have already entered the merry month of May. Spring is here, and spring is here to stay. So, I invite you on Facebook Live, press that share button now. Invite all of your friends to join us in this hour of celebrating life by clicking on share. I would like to introduce our team today. Today we have, for my service assistant, Luke Hendricks, who will be with us during the month of May. We have our great music director, Judy Moen, our special vocalist, Geoff Jones, and we have Patty Tangi, Lindy Anderson, and Don Ramler on technology this morning. So, let us prepare for this time by setting our intention with our statement of being. I invite you to join with me in your own home as we affirm this truth and this focus. There is but one presence and one power in my life, in this church, and in the universe, God, the omnipotent good. And now, Judy will play our favorite theme, Surely the Presence is in this place. I invite you to sing along.
Of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's own power and God's grace. There's a holy truth within me that no thing can displace. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Good morning. I'm Luke Hendricks, today's service assistant. While our state is practicing social distancing, thank you for joining us and are continuing our unity tradition of spiritual connecting. First, let me welcome the visitors joining us for the first time through the internet. I'd like to honor them and honor your virtual presence in this meeting. So let's do this the way we do it, as if they were in the sanctuary, with the words, we welcome you, we bless you, and we're glad you could join us. As we gather in mind and heart this morning, let me welcome all the members and friends of Unity South. Your virtual presence is so important to the well-being of our Unity South community. Although our building is now closed, our community thrives through this online connection. We can be together in mind and heart at this very moment. I invite all of us to hold this thought. I behold the Christ in you. Now, if you would, hold your palms together at the level of your heart. I realize this may be a funny thing to do looking at a computer, but let's really do it for each other and say the words, the Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. We encourage you throughout the week to pause and hold this intention as you remember our Unity South family. Now let our awareness expand to include all of humanity. People throughout the world are gathering this week to acknowledge the God of their understanding. wherever and in whatever faith tradition, humanity is expressing compassion, cooperation, goodwill, and trust in the power of God to heal and protect our wonderful world. Now let us affirm our own tradition in our centering statement with focused thought and real feeling. Centered in God, assured by faith, and prospered by divine love, we boldly move forward to serve humanity by building our lives and Unity South Church together. For the announcements, please join us next Sunday as Reverend Stacey continues his lesson series, My Favorite Bible Stories, Part 2, Elisha and the Widow's Oil. We will also observe the tradition of Mother's Day. Now let us prepare for a time of community prayer as I read the daily word for today. And today's daily word is world peace, with the affirmation, I contribute to peace in the world. When I learn of conflict in my community or in the world, my response may be frustration, sadness, or anger. If I have those feelings, I remember that I am more than merely human. I am a living expression of God, heir to all that God is. I use my divine faculties of wisdom, understanding, and love to create the abiding peace that is my birthright. Centered in this divine peace, I realize that every person is as much an expression of God as I am. As differences dissolve in a way that transcend human understanding, I come to know oneness with all of God's people. I let this realization shape my response to every person and every situation in an awareness of my oneness with all people. My thoughts, words, and actions contribute to peace in the world. And from John 17, verse 22, the glory that you have given me, I have given them, so that they may be one as we are one. Let's pause a moment on today's affirmation. I contribute to peace in the world.
Dear friends, let us join together now in a time of prayer, of fixing our focus upon the presence and goodness of our God. With this intention, we experience healing power. We experience blessing power, prosperity power. And we come to settle into a peace of heart and mind. I invite you to turn your attention within, to let go of the outer world and become aware of the inner world, the divine presence within you. Father, Mother God, we acknowledge you are always and everywhere present, that we live and move and have our being in your infinite, eternal Spirit. We join with our friends at Silent Unity in this affirmation for May. Centered in God, I am secure and peaceful. Centered in God, I am secure and peaceful. As I shift my focus from outer activity to infinite God, my source and inner resource, I realize God is a state of peace. All cares and concerns diminish in this presence of peace. God is peace in my quiet mind and my compassionate heart. I realize peace as I pray. I invite you to call to mind those who have written prayer requests to Unity South and the millions of people around the world who turn to Silent Unity headquarters for prayer support. You do not need to know their individual names, nor their prayer concerns. You have the power, as a living spirit, to focus upon these individuals and call forth their truth, to stand as a witness to the power within them that is God's good creation. There is a light of wisdom that guides their way. There is a healing power that restores them from any lack of balance, discomfort, or even disease that they know in this earthly world. And that divine power within them is their strength to know that they have a valued place in this world and that they can make a difference, that they have a gift that only they can give, which benefits the common good. We can say, dear friend, I behold, you are God's wonderful creation with an inheritance of spiritual power. As you give your attention to this truth within you, it guides you on your path toward your highest good and helps you to be a beneficial presence in this world, that all may know blessing, may all know that they are valued by the whole. In this time of prayer, we become aware that our consciousness is uplifted and our heart fills with compassion, goodwill, and joy, that the ground on which we stand is holy ground, for it is God's good creation. So I invite us now to bring this time of prayer to its highest realization as we turn to that perfect model of prayer that Jesus Christ taught, the Lord's Prayer. I invite you to speak it with me, to hold this prayer in your heart, or if you choose, to sing the beautiful words of truth. Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen and amen.
With me, Lord, walk with me. Walk with me, Lord, walk with me. All along my pilgrim journey, Lord, I want you to walk with me in my trials. Walk with me in my trials. Walk with me when my head is heavy laden. Oh, I want, oh, my Lord, to walk with me. When my head is heavy laden, walk with me, Lord, walk with me. My soul is troubled, walk with me. When my soul is troubled, walk with me when my head is so heavy laden. Walk with me, Lord, walk with me. Walk with me, Lord, walk with me. Walk with me, Lord, walk with me. All along my pilgrim journey, walk with me, Lord, walk with me.
Well, thank you, Judy and Geoff. You got us ready for a time of storytelling. Our setup today may look slightly different to you because I brought a chair from my own home so that I could be comfortable sitting down and sharing this lesson series during May that I've entitled My Favorite Bible Stories. Now, before you become concerned and think, well, I'll just click out, who wants to hear old stories from the Bible? Well, get ready. Get ready. Not only are these stories lasting, they've endured for thousands of years, but if you listen carefully, if you read between the lines, as we will do, you're going to hear how these stories speak about your life. Not ancient people in distant lands, but they tell you clues to how you can live your life more fully, live your life with trust and power, sense of worth, to be empowered to live. Joel Osteen, who has, by fact, the largest congregation in the United States, drawing 40 to 50,000 people every weekend in Houston, he has a great affirmation. And it's kind of interesting to note his father, who preceded him in the ministry, was friends with the Unity minister in Houston. And so whenever I hear this affirmation that Joel speaks so often, I think he's heard of unity. So in referring to the Bible, Joel loves to hold it up to his congregation and say, "This is my Bible. I am what it says I am. I have what it says I have. I can do what it says I can do." And so, in his own way, Joel takes up what Unity has always taught about the Bible, that its stories are about you and your life and the power that is within you. Wow. I hope you will be saying wow a lot in the coming Sundays. So as I begin this, I emphasize that my intention is not to teach you Bible history, nor to teach you doctrines about the Christian church. It is to invite you into an understanding of what these ancient stories have to tell you here and now in 2020 Twins Cities reality. That was a little tongue twister. 2020 Twin Cities reality. We can truly say that these Bible stories are timeless and timely. Unity's entire approach to the Bible over the last century is to see it as an unfolding or awakening consciousness of humanity. Some have called the Bible the family album of all of humanity. It speaks of the developing awareness through twists and turns of people through time to become aware that our God is not only distant and universal, but is an eminent, close presence for us. The history and culture of the Judeo-Christian experience may inspire us, but unless we take these powerful stories and understand the clues they reveal to our lives in the present day, the Bible can become irrelevant and even boring to modern people. To help prevent that result, Unity assembled a team of scholars in the 1920s. It was the biggest scholarly project that Unity has ever taken on. And they spent approximately 10 years developing their greatest selling book through all these decades, the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but to just point out that it is a tool. The Metaphysical Bible Dictionary is not only used in Unity, but many other denominations have used it as a study tool. You see, it takes every proper name in the Bible and gives it a metaphysical interpretation. What do I mean by a metaphysical interpretation? It means, what does this story mean in my life? How do I experience it in my day-to-day living? We'll return to that in a little bit. So this powerful tool helps me in my own Bible studies to open up the meaning, to read between the lines of these many stories. For those of us who are attracted on television or the movies to dramas of deceit, thievery, beautiful people, wealth, struggles and triumphs, the Bible is filled with stories worthy of the big screen. Today, I want us to look at the dramatic episodes in the life of Jacob. Jacob is the so-called third patriarch of the Hebrew people after his father Isaac and his grandfather Abraham. Abraham is considered to be the patriarch of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Jacob's name, according to our Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, the name or its root meaning is supplanter. Supplanter. This can mean to take by deception, to steal, or it can also mean to replace one idea with another idea. And so we began with the birthright and blessing of the twin boys, Esau and Jacob. They were twins, but Esau was born first. And by that, in the tradition, he inherited the birthright and the blessing of his father and grandfather Abraham. In other words, he was going to carry on the family tradition, as it were. Have you ever had a new idea or a new viewpoint that supplanted or replaced an older one? When you presented that new idea, was everyone happy? Or were some people suspicious or angry with your new way of doing things? Those who have worked in the process of recovery know what it is to make changes in one's life. Sometimes the community, the family, those that you were always surrounded by, don't always take too well to your new way of doing things. And so, in this story, the young men, Esau and Jacob, were two very different personalities. Esau was the firstborn. He was the earthy, strong, material-minded, physical individuality. Whereas Jacob was the quiet, mental, reflective, thoughtful individual. Rebekah, their mother, was especially fond of Jacob. And so she worked, in our story, to help Jacob, in effect, steal the birthright and blessing from his brother. Now, when we read that story on the surface, we think, well, Rebekah and her favorite son Jacob stealing the birthright. What was Esau's as the firstborn does not seem particularly desirable. It seemed to involve deceit and trickery on how they accomplished this. But if we read between the lines, we see what's happening. Jacob, with this new mental understanding of the world, took the place of, so to speak, his firstborn brother, who was only concerned in the material world. As a matter of fact, as the story goes, Esau came in from working hard in the fields, and he was hungry. And there was Jacob cooking up a flavorful, aromatic stew. Esau really wanted to feed his hunger. Everything was fixed on his material need. I'm hungry, I want to eat. And so Jacob was able to trick him to sell his birthright. He said, well, what do I need with that old tradition? I just want food for here and now. So they had an agreement, and for a bowl of stew, Esau gave up his birthright as the firstborn. The next scene in this little deceitful play is when Rebekah and Jacob trick the father Isaac, who is now quite elderly and blind. They bring him food and tell him that Jacob is in reality his firstborn beloved son Esau. And so they trick Isaac into conferring his everlasting blessing, not upon his first son, but upon his second son, Jacob. In other words, they trick Isaac into conferring this blessing that was so important it could not be revoked. Well, if you can imagine, when the older brother came home and realized not only had he sold his birthright, but now his father had been tricked into giving the everlasting blessing, passing on tradition, as it were, to Jacob, Esau was furious. Furious. So Rebekah, being a good mother, concerned about her beloved Jacob, said, I think you better get out of town. And so she sent him on a journey to her brother, Laban, and said, go stay with my brother for a while. So on this journey, Jacob stops near the place of Bethel. If we look in our Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, we'll discover that that root, Bethel, means house of God. He stopped there to sleep for the night. And during his sleep, he had a dream of a great ladder or even staircase. And on that staircase, going up and coming down, going up and coming down, were angels, which in their understanding were messengers of God. In unity, we say divine ideas or lasting principles. So Jacob saw this staircase with these angels flowing up and down. And we can interpret that when we really understand reality and our relationship with God, there is a consistent flow of true ideas, of principles of life that are constantly flowing between the invisible spiritual realm and here on earth. We're constantly being awakened to spiritual truth and fed or inspired by spiritual ideas. When Jacob awoke from this dream, he had a great realization. He said, "Surely the very presence of God is in this place, but I had not realized it." He said, "Surely, right where I am is the very gate of heaven, or the entry into spiritual reality." The Spirit of God said, "I will bless you, and I will follow you wherever you go." Hence, in our unity prayer for protection that we end every service with, the very last line is, "Wherever God is, I am." It is that Jacob realization that God is not in some distant place. God is here with us, guiding us, leading us, being a light upon our path. After this, Jacob continued his journey, and he did go to his uncle Laban's, and there he worked for many years. You see, here comes the romantic twist. Laban had 2 daughters, the eldest Leah and Rachel. Jacob was so taken with Rachel that he said to his uncle, "I will work 7 years in your fields in order to earn Rachel's hand in marriage." And so he did work 7 years, and then it came time for that marriage. But here, the plot thickens. His uncle veiled his eldest daughter, Leah, and brought her to the wedding. Jacob suddenly realized he had not married his love, Rachel, but had married her older sister, Leah. And he was angry and upset. But do you see the story here? He got the same result as he had tricked his brother, so he was tricked. Well, the story was resolved because Laban agreed if he would work another 7 years, then he could also marry Rachel as his second wife. And so he did. Now, in this realization that he had been tricked as he had tricked his brother, he came to himself and he wanted to return home to make amends with his brother Esau and to close this separation that had grown between them. Not only a separation in distance and space, but a separation between these 2 twin brothers. And so as he prepared to make that trip, again, at night, an angel appeared. And the story tells us that Jacob wrestled with this angel. Well, if we read between the lines, we can understand Jacob was wrestling with the angel that represented his own sense of regret of how he had treated his brother. And the story says he wrestled with the angel all night long until the break of day. The break of day, of course, is symbolic for us. Now I understand. I understand what I have done and how I must make amend for what I have done. He told that angel, that messenger, I will not release my hold on you, my struggle with you, until I have received a blessing. Have you ever been in a difficult situation where you've wrestled with a problem? I know I have. Some I've struggled with for years. Some I'm not even sure I have finished fighting. But that sense of wanting to attain justice in your life, to do the right thing, but you don't know how to accomplish it. You don't know what to do. So in this story, Jacob would not let go of that struggle until he had his blessing. That is his realization, what he learned from this struggle, and a new way that he could go. Finally, he released that angel. And the angel said, your blessing is you have struggled with men and you have struggled with God, but you have prevailed. And so your name shall no longer be Jacob. It shall be Israel. Israel. If we look at that word that is applied to the whole Hebrew people, Israel, Israel, essentially means a man seeing or breathing or connecting with God. We might say in our contemporary language, it means to know our connection, our unity with our Creator, always with us, guiding us, empowering us. And so Jacob changed the name to Israel for his new perspective and power on life. Have you ever changed your name? I changed my name a few years ago when I turned 50. I changed from my middle name, Jeffrey, to my first name, James. Well, there's a long family story behind that that I won't tell at this time. But for me, I felt more comfortable with the name James. And at that turning point in my 50th year, I wanted to choose a name that told me I had achieved a new self-identity, a new sense of self, a new direction and purpose for my life, and at that time, my ministry. Another example, a few months ago, we did a memorial service here at Unity South for a woman I didn't know well. She spent many years in another congregation here in the city, but there was a beautiful gathering of her family and friends. Her name was Catherine Lighton. I was very intrigued to learn from her daughters that Lighton was not a legal given name. It was a name that she chose. She chose it, they said, because she wanted to lighten the heaviness of our world experience. In other words, she wanted to be a peacemaker, a light bringer in her life and her world. And so she changed her name, not unlike Jacob becoming Israel. Well, there are many more stories, not only in Jacob's life, but in the coming weeks we're going to look at the great miracle worker, Elijah, and the miracle that was achieved with a widow and her oil. We'll also look at Jesus' teaching with the woman of Samaria. I call it the well of living water. And finally this month, we'll look at another New Testament story that speaks of maintaining and understanding our integrity within a community. It's about a couple that you may not have heard of, Ananias and Sapphira. It's a very dramatic story, and I don't want you to miss out in the coming weeks. Today, to conclude this storytelling time and to prepare for a time of reflection, I want to quote from a 17th century mystic, well known to some and not known at all to others, Jacob Boehme. He influenced other great thinkers up to our present day. Famous philosophers such as Ralph Waldo Emerson and many others. He was in harmony with his namesake, Jacob, of 3,000 years earlier. He wrote these words, and see if you can't hear the same ideas that Jacob discovered in his life coming up in this 17th century German mystic. Jacob wrote, "Heaven is the transformation of this world. It is not an ascent to another world. The true heaven is everywhere, even where you stand and where you go. This world in its inner core unfolds itself in union with the heaven aloft, so that there is one presence, one heart, one being." Jacob Boehme recognized, like that Jacob's ladder and the angels that ascend and descend, that we have a connection with the true power that stands behind all of this material creation. Theologically, we can speak of it as God immanent, close at hand, and God transcendent or universal. When I was in school, I was told by one instructor that I had to choose, that God could not be universal and transcendent and also right here, right now. Even with James, with each one of you. And I just remember saying, no, that's how I see it. That's how I understand what we talk about in unity, that God is omnipresent, everywhere present, right in the details of our daily living, and also beyond this universe in the great unknown and yet to be formed spiritual reality. God is this one, as Jacob Boehme described it, this one heart, this one being, within, through, and beyond all creation. So I invite you now, as we prepare for a little time of visualizing, that is, experiencing these ideas as real and powerful within our very soul. I invite you to turn your attention away from outer things to inner realities. You may choose to close your eyes wherever you are, or you may choose to rest your sight upon our unity mosaic image. The design of the dove in flight. This is a well-known symbol in our unity churches. But I'm going to ask you a question. I'm very fond of the artist that created this mosaic for us because she used a great understanding of truth. I don't know if she was consciously aware or if it just guided her artistic hand. But can you discern in this design whether the dove is ascending, flying upward, or descending, flying downward? It seems to me to be both. Like the angels of Jacob's dream, there is a constant flow between invisible spiritual realities and their manifestation, their taking form in the material world. In ascent, in meditation, we are raised to a place of pure silence and inspiration. And then that in turn descends upon our world and takes form and shape and color as our lives and everything in this world. In that place, we know the gate of heaven. It's a mystery. We pass through it. Are we in heaven or are we on earth? It's almost like a revolving door in meditation because we realize that we are both in the spiritual, heavenly awareness and the earthly experience. So first, let yourself become aware of the peace and stillness and silence. Gently releasing the activities and concerns of this day. And I'm going to offer you this beloved verse from Psalms. Just in holding these words, you can be guided to that sure place of peace within the very center of your being. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted above all people, all creation. I am exalted in the very essence of all that is on earth. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. In the stillness is the sound of the infinite. It is the voice of truth, a sure guide toward God, toward good. In this silence, the angels or messengers of truth or inspiring ideas descend upon you with wisdom and ascend with your awakening consciousness. Let your whole world be silent. Rest for a moment in this pure peace of being. Now gently, we allow our focus to return to this outer material world of activity. As you are ready, open your eyes with a new vision of a new world. A world you see through your expanded awareness. you can, like the words of Jacob, exclaim, surely, surely God is in this place. But I did not know it. How awesome is this house of God and this very real gate of heaven. We can speak with assurance from our unity prayer of protection. This same idea. Wherever I am, God is. As we bring this heavenly experience to a close, we can give thanks for the wisdom, the beauty, and the goodness in which we have been created by the mind of the infinite. So it is. So we can say, wow, wonder of wonders. Amen. And now let me invite Geoff to come and share some music.
Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Gonna sing and never tire. Sing and never tire. Sing and never tire. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Oh, walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Gonna shout and never tire. Shout and never tire. Shout and never tire. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Oh, walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Gonna praise and never tire. Praise and never tire. Praise and never tire. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Whoa, walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. There's a great camp meeting. There's a great camp meeting. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Woo!
Okay, great, thank you. It's time to bless our gifts. We are grateful for the gifts that are sent by mail or given online to unitysouth.org. So, wherever you are physically, know that we are one in our intention to support Unity South Twin Cities. Together, we will keep this ministry energized to complete its important mission so that all who turn to Unity South will be embraced, loved, and empowered by our collective consciousness. God loves this world, and so do we. I invite you to take your gift in your hands, or hold your online giving receipt, or if you give monthly, hold in mind your financial commitment, and together, let us bless these gifts. Divine love, flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all the good that I am and have, all the good that I give and receive, and I am grateful.
Well, friends, it's my new custom to offer you a call to action, otherwise known as homework for the week. I want you to consider this week this phrase. It's a popular song we often sing. I choose heaven today. I choose heaven today. I will look for ways to transform a current challenge in my life, in my world, into a blessing of new understanding and of greater good. As the late Robert Schuller of the Crystal Cathedral so often said, I will turn my scars into stars. I will turn my scars into stars. So consider something you have been struggling with and how it can be transformed, that is, made heaven into a greater insight of good, of possibility in your life and your world. So now let us prepare to close our time together with our unity prayer for protection. As we leave this online gathering, join me in this prayer. If you do not yet know the words, let my words fill your heart, and you will learn that we are not alone. Let's all join together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Amen.